In today's video, we're going to talk about how to make your kids smarter, part 2, coming up. Hi everyone, this is Dr. Ernesto from Attaboycowboy, and on this channel we give you health and wealth tips to help you be more successful. Now in today's video I want to talk a little bit more about how to make your kids smarter. These days it's very competitive and I get a lot of parents asking me, what can I do to help my kids? How can I make them better at sports? How can I make them better at school? I want them to be successful. Now just a reminder, I live in Los Angeles. There's a lot of really successful people here. And a lot of my patients and my clients are very wealthy and really famous people. If I were to mention some of their names, you would know their names immediately. They're A-list actors. But of course, out of privacy, I would never do that. But the concerns of the rich and the famous are the same as everyday people like you and I. And basically, we want our children, our family, our friends to be successful. I started thinking about some strategies and I actually made a list that I present to a lot of my patients and their families. And I want to share some of those with you. My second favorite option, which is going to museums. Now, growing up, I did not go to a lot of museums. My parents were great. They took us camping. They took us on a lot of family trips. We had a lot of really beautiful experiences that I'm really grateful for. And that in itself is a learning experience. Most people don't even have that opportunity. But when I first started college, I remember one of my first classes I had was an art history class. And my professor, as part of our projects, he offered us extra credit. And he told us to go to a list of museums. We could choose to go or not go. And depending on how many we went, that's how much extra credit we got. Now, I've always really liked school and I've been really competitive in school. So of course, I jumped at the opportunity. And the first museum I chose was the Getty Museum in Malibu, California. Now, this museum is world class. And if you ever look at a ranking of museums, it's definitely in the tops in the world. And it just so happened it was my first pick. So I remember I went there with one of my good friends, David Prado. And when we went to the museum, I was shocked at the beauty, at all the wealth, the exuberance. I just wasn't expecting to see what I saw. And it really changed some things in my mind. It made me realize, like, wow, a lot of people in this world live differently than I do. And they achieve a lot greater things than the people that I know have done. And that's not a bad thing, it's just a fact. It just made me more aware of what's around me. So from that point on, I've just had an affinity for museums. Everywhere I go in the world, first thing I look up are the top museums. And those are the first things to do on my to-do list in just about any city. And when you go to a museum and you're a child, it creates a domino effect. You see something like this beautiful forest. If you want to look at it superficially, you can. It's a beautiful forest, there's rocks, there's a beautiful stream. That's all great. But most children and most people are very curious. So it's going to start driving your imagination. Well, where's that water coming from? What's driving it? And why are those rocks there? Why are there sand on some part? Then you start studying about geology and hydrology. And that you can take it as profound as you want, obviously. Some people look at it and they just say, hey, it's a nice forest. But a child is different. Children are different. I remember the first 8 years I only worked with children. My specialty was pediatric. I worked with literally thousands of children and their families. And I would share these experiences with parents. And over the years, they would just open up to the curiosity. Like they would take their children to their first museum and the child all of a sudden wanted to know, well, what's causing the water to flow? Well, let's take it to the library. Let's get you some books. You can read about water. You can read about geology. You can read about rock. You can read about the forest. You can read about arbory. You can read about entomology, which is the study of insects. I mean, as you can see, it's very profound and it's endless. But if you don't know that these things are out there, your mind is not going to want to investigate and learn about it. And that's what happened to me. I didn't know that they had these beautiful things at the museums. So once I was exposed to it, I wanted more. And every time I go to museums, I learn more and more and more, and I wanted more of it. And it actually made me read a lot more. So the same thing goes with children. If you're having a problem getting your kids to read, what better way to get them reading than to spark their curiosity? If you haven't already, plan on taking your kids to museums, and you can literally start at any age. 2, 3 years old is fine. A lot of museums have children's centers for toddlers to play around in, and trying to teach them to learn and to appreciate knowledge and to kind of grow up in that type of environment. you're gonna create a human being that's gonna be a lot more curious and a lot more wanting to learn about the world around them, which obviously is gonna lead to a lot more success in life. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you for listening.